The overall mood on this is that people are, I think, rightfully upset at the performance, and also not all hope is lost either. It just we made the job really hard and looked stupid in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, on edition. There we go. All right, I'm good.
All right, here we go. All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back to another episode of the London is Blue podcast. As always, your host, Brandon, my co-host, Nick, and Dan. Gentlemen, we've got the Middlesbrough match review. Nothing like mid-week disappointment, Dan, but we're here. We're gonna do a thing, breaking it down.
Look, Chelsea were, I think they played a match, and there were at least away fans who were there, and they had to suffer through a match. So we're here, Nick, and we're recording a podcast about it.
Yep. All right, look, we've been doing this for 9.5 years, where rain, shine, sleet, or in my case, this afternoon, tons of snow. We are here to talk about Chelsea Football Club, a club that we love, and sometimes it makes us a little bit sick. So
Doesn't love us back.
Yeah, well, not today anyway. Not today.
Well, we got plenty to get through, but we always want to kick it off with the three-word match reviews. We've got a little bit on X, Twitter, and a lot of it from Discord. So really looking to dig into these, Dan. What did the people say? How did they feel?
Mr. George Smiley with a Chelsea have fallen. You had Jesper with the Bing X era ended.
Because they had last episode that it was starting. Well
great.
done, Jesper. Well done.
You have to bookend things in life, and sometimes they happen pretty quickly. Postman with the hat trick of misses. Don't disagree with that one. Kate with the many mistakes made. Clip show with a deep cut. Golden Globe synergy. Because if you don't remember, Todd Bowley's company acquired the rights to the Golden Globes. It did not do well. If you want to kind of look for something that maybe had a similar trajectory to how Chelsea performed, that would be a good example. Blue London 1905 with the worse than mid Middlesbrough. You had Fatal Ferret with the this really sucks. McGleasy with the uh-oh Dano to round out a couple of three-word match reviews.
Again, clever people when they are pushed to their boundaries, to the edges, but hey, we've got our own. Nick, I'm going to kick it off with you first. We never really do this. So what about you? What do you have?
I'm pleased with mine, and it really syncs up with Clip Show. Joe Coy finishing.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he probably had a worse outing, to be fair.
It's tough to say. I mean, they were both pretty bad.
Dan, what about you?
I went with is the Riverside Stadium. So we were crying our river because boy, oh boy, there were plenty of tears of frustration and sadness about the way Chelsea performed.
I hear you. But don't worry. Mine is only halftime, boys. That is the only piece of hope we are clinging on to. And I think a lot of people had that as well. But man, it does not make me feel good about it. I will tell you that. So before we get into it, Nick, we always want to shout everyone out to get involved. Our Patreon, by the way, I don't know if it's because we just created an easy link. It's just discord.gg/LondonBluePod. We've probably had 25, 30 people join since this past weekend. So it's kind of a big deal.
Look, nothing says us more than finally getting that link together after a number of months, and then look, the floodgates open. So to those of you who suffered through the harder linking strategy, you're extra special to us. For those who want to join the Discord and be a part of the conversation, we've had a bunch of new people recently. Please do that. It's great. It's a paid way to support the show. Of course, there are a bunch of free ways to support us as well. 5-star reviews, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're going to say it until we stop getting them. So please do that. Subscribe on YouTube. We're always trying to figure out different ways to do better there. And of course, the newsletter, the London is Blue Dispatch. We put a link out to it every time it comes out. Just go hit that subscribe button, put your email in there, and get some of the goodness.
All right. Well, we've got a lot going on, but it's time to talk about the match. It is Middlesbrough this past Tuesday, the 9th of January, in the Carabao or League Cup, if you are a traditionalist. We're at the Riverside Stadium, as Dan mentioned a little bit ago. In case you missed it, Middlesbrough won, and that is right. Chelsea, nil, nada, nothing. So the goal coming in 37th minute from Hackney on the Middlesbrough side. So, Dan, take us through the lineup. We've got SofaScore breaking it down for us here. Who did they have, in what formation, and who were the subs?
Well, Petrovic started between the sticks, and it was Malo Gusto on right back, Axel Disasi, Thiago Silva, and Levi Colwell as your back four. Not every one of those players remained in the game, though. Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez as your midfield pairing with an attack featuring Cole Palmer, false nine, Nick Verlaney. Called it. Just going to give you the moment, Nick. You called your shot. You got it right. Nani Madueke, Connor Gallagher, and Raheem Sterling rounded out the attack. Only 3 subs. Pochettino saying, you know what? That run of 5, getting players extra minutes, keeping people fresh, we're done with that. Leaving that in 2023. And it was Mikhailo Mudryk, Armando Broya, and Alfie Gilchrist coming on, the first 2 in the 63rd minute, and Alfie in the 90th minute, because why not? Bettinelli, Bergstrom, Williams, Golding, and Davide Washington, the unused subs.
What do you keep calling him Davide? Isn't it just David?
Yeah, Dan. What's happening?
Yeah, like giving him a little flair.
And then I like how you teed the back line as if they were going to be overhauling changes, and all it was Alfie Gilchrist in the 90th minute for Malo Gusto. The old bait and switch. Look over here. Nothing to see. Well done.
Poch, use your goalkeepers. Put both goalkeepers. Give every goalkeeper a turn. Get those 5 subs back up, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Come on.
Imagine he puts bets on for the last 10 and then Bergstrom in like the 90th second, just burning them,
Let's
the
go.
subs.
I need the subs used.
All right. Top line stats, 72% possession, 18 shots, 5 on target. That means Middlesbrough had 6 shots, only 2 on target, but they scored off of one of them. We had 10 fouls to their 9. We had 1 caution to their none. And then from there, we had 4 big chances. Yep, missed all 4. Good math out there, listener. And then they had 1 that they scored. But after that, we had 1 goalkeeper save. That is it. And their goalkeeper, Tom Glover, if you want to call it a save, had 5. Not catches, but saves. If it hits your chest, it counts. We'll add up the Joe with the 1 random stat. 1999, Chelsea's defeat to Middlesbrough tonight is the first time they've lost a League Cup match against a side from a lower division since October of 1999 against Huddersfield. Grim. So that's how we leave it, Nick. There was a lot in there, but it's not really setting us up for a pretty picture.
No. Look, I think we're going to talk about the missed chances here, the big chances that were missed. 100% on missed big chances. So there we go. But if I could just say this, and I know you're a part of the goalkeepers union, Brandon, but their goalkeeper just looks woeful, and we couldn't make him fumble the ball into the back of the net. He really wanted to. He was desperate to, and we just couldn't. We couldn't kick it enough to where he would just drop it in for us. That's a tough look, man. The dude does not seem confident in his catching, positioning ability, or really save ability, and we just let him hang out.
It wasn't a good day for the individual efforts, but I tell you what, he got a shutout against a Premier League team. So he's going to add that to the LinkedIn resume. No doubt. Expect it tomorrow right away. But yeah, Glover needed a little bit of help. Some of the bobbles and chest traps of driven shots were tough to watch. Can't believe we didn't get a single tap in off it. But anyways, we're going to take our first ad break. When we get back, jumping in to how we lost to Middlesbrough. Thank you to the sponsors, and we'll be right back. All right. So if we have to break down losing to Middlesbrough, I think it's only fair, Dan, that we start with the fact that we had the chance to continue a 9-game winning streak against Middlesbrough in all competitions. We have seen us beat Middlesbrough. And you know, good times that was. But no, in this one we didn't. We ended it.
Have we been to 2 matches against Middlesbrough? I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah,
one was a very bad post Boxing Day one.
Yep.
That was really bad.
Yeah. 0-0 at home. Yep.
And then Conte right before we won the league, right? When Brad Guzan got nutmegged 3 times. That was fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
this wasn't.
21 goals had been scored previously in all of these matches in these 9 games against Middlesbrough by Chelsea. And we decided that this would be the first time since February of 2007 that Middlesbrough were going to score against Chelsea, which I think adds to the deflating mood. This also would have been a 5th win out of 6, or a 6th win out of 7 matches if we include the Newcastle advance on penalties. So I mean, that's where I'm starting from a mood perspective, is actually like in a larger context. Like generally there have been some good trend lines, even though we are still frustrating, even though we don't take all of our chances, that in general, things have been going in a better direction, Nick. But this one, given the importance of a cup, given the fact that Chelsea are not anywhere near finishing in the 1, 2, 3 positions in the Premier League, that this was a way into Europe, into European competition. Yes, I know it's the Conference League. It's still a competition. It's a trophy Chelsea hasn't won yet. Be great to add it to the cabinets and the coffers. We've seen the trophy room at Stamford Bridge. Be good to get another one. So to me, I think that's where the frustration comes from, is that like this felt very doable, and we were our biggest enemy again.
It was the first loss to a lower league team since 2015, the Bradford City debacle in the FA Cup. They all were talking a big game ahead of it. It's the most important game. We have to match their energy. Yeah, I mean, I was looking forward to, you know, potentially going on a run of wins in a row. You know, we've done 3, but you know, had the, you know, potential to maybe get it up to 6. You know, if you beat Fulham and you beat them in the other leg, and who knows what happens with Liverpool at that point if you're on a 6-game winning streak. I mean, it's the most annoying part about this team is there's always a setback. There's always a game where they're not up for it. And look, Middlesbrough aren't good. And just be very clear about this. They're not a good team. They're a structurally well-organized unit. They're physical, but we have no business losing to that team. Just be very, very clear about it. Like, they barely created much in this game. You know, I think Chelsea, from a game plan perspective, just was completely off. Personnel was off, game plan was off. And how many times have we seen Chelsea dominate possession, dominate shots, dominate blah, 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 and give up a cheap goal on a counter? It's the playbook. It's the playbook. I mean, it is genuinely ridiculous that the minute that they had the ball out wide and 2 players streaking into the box, I was like, well, here's a goal. Look, I don't know. I think you have a right to be upset after this one. This is lower league opposition and supposedly the most important game of the year. And the team did everything to make this a tie. And now it's going to be harder, Brandon, because they're already not a pretty, they're already not an aggressive team offensively, but now they have a goal lead to shield behind. And so it's going to be really, really difficult second leg.
I think, you know, you're going to go into this trying to manage, knowing that you do have 2 legs, right? And we are on the road, the first leg. So I think it's like, I think both managers, obviously Michael Carrick, formerly of United, and Poch were thinking of it like that. Giving up a goal to them in the first half, it's super annoying, but like I really wasn't terribly worried about it because like Chelsea were always going to have to score anyways. what was crazy is that we didn't get the goal on the day. Like I haven't seen the XG on this one because it's the Carabao Cup and stats are hard to get, but it's like the chances that Palmer had alone, right? The ability that Raheem Sterling had, Broya, side net, different things like that. On any other day, something goes in. So I do think that I felt pretty like frustrated but calm through this one. So if you think about it, you go in the next leg, they're going to be shitting bricks because they know they have to defend for 90 minutes and not make a mistake. Chelsea are going to be all out attack. I think they let one in. I think they're going to crumble and they're going to let two in. But Chelsea should be able to do that against this team. So I was annoyed, but I didn't think it was the end of the world. I think people calling this like the end of the world, it's a two-leg tie. Like it or not, we always had a chance. Players are thinking about that. They have to play Fulham at the weekend. There's a lot going on. We talk about our injury record and things like that. Like at some point, you just like, you did enough. You didn't win. To Nick's, your point, it's just a little bit of copy paste. This team seems to be unlucky at the worst times, but we've got 90 more minutes at home at the Bridge. Like, this team should be able to take care of a team like Middlesbrough, but there's a
I even
lot.
predicted us to win at halftime. Like I was super frustrated with the first half performance, but I thought surely we'd get a couple of goals. They were creaking at the end of the half. Like, Cole had 3 chances, I think, from the 35th minute on to put the ball in, and it just force fields
Yeah.
again. And I thought, hey, shitty first half, but surely, we'll do what we did to Preston at the weekend and just overwhelm them. Not really. If anything, the second half was worse.
Their last shot was in the 68th minute, which is kind of interesting. But we also didn't get our last shot was in the 85th minute. Like we didn't do anything the last 10 minutes. But 85th minute, 83rd, 75, 73, 61, 55, 53. Definitely peppering. If you look at the shot chart here, it is night and day difference. It's wild that nothing went in. But Nick or Dan, that's sometimes how the proverbial cookie crumbles. But something we have to look at as well is the players that Poch used, right? So a lot of people want to talk about strategy. There's no strategy. There's no identity. What about the tactics? What about the subs? All of these things go into it. So I think there's a lot of different ways you can splice that side of it. Where do you want to take your slice of the pie?
Gosh,
Yeah,
I would say the backside or the back left side was really kind of the point of attack for a lot of what we saw in the first half. So you saw Levi pick up, some early fouls, Disasi when he was on the left, and they eventually switch back to Thiago Silva being on the left and Disasi being on the right. Like that didn't necessarily fill, I think, anybody with confidence. And so when you look at it, you're like, well, you could also play Malagus on the left, but then, if you have Axel Disasi there and it's now Nani Madueke and him on the same side, is that what you really want? And so like the whole composition is off balance with the players being out. And so I think the sympathy, like the reality of the situation is still that the best players that Chelsea have in some of these positions are either out on short term or long term. So some of it is down to will he make a decision to play players in certain ways in certain positions. I think there was some where maybe Raheem Sterling was not the right call for this game. Maybe Mykhailo Mudryk to start to give Middlesbrough a little bit more of a consideration. And then also Nick too. I mean, we were crossing the ball all the first 45 to 60 minutes. And then the moment we put Armando Broya on, we're like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. That's a dumb idea. even though it resulted in a very sublime goal over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's super confusing and frustrating. I didn't understand what the team was trying to do in the first half. I mean, Cole lucked into being in the right position for a few chances, deflections and whatnot, but there was no cohesive offensive game plan. I think, what do we have? 5 shots on target against Middlesbrough. I mean, that ain't good enough for sure. And I think the other thing, the game plan itself, of course, we want to control the ball. We want to, make sure that we get a ton of shots in and all that sort of stuff. The game was played at their tempo. They wanted it to be stretched. They wanted it to be end to end. They wanted to get in behind. They wanted to go on counterattacks. And they were out physicaling us to everything. Our team is still soft. When stuff doesn't go their way, heads drop, all that sort of stuff. And I was confused by that, Brandon, because I thought of all the days to get the like warrior helmet on, a semifinal would be, for me anyway, like the day to do it, to not be out physical or bullied by a team that doesn't have the same level of skill. I could have told you what they were going to do to us after watching a couple of matches of film. Like they just had a big battle with Villa over the weekend in the FA Cup. They're not extraordinarily skillful, but like they're there to fight. Carrick has been fighting. They're not even doing that great in the championship, but like they're fine. And we just kind of let it happen. And I don't know, from a preparation perspective, from a scouting perspective, what is happening midweek, but the last few matches, it's been woeful from a game plan point of view.
Yeah, the kind of the irony, I think, that everyone's talking about with the crossing, obviously, and then you finally put Broya on, and you're like, yeah, we're not going to cross it. But also, I was watching Broya. He was like dropping deep to receive the ball, even around the box. And he'd like go out to the wing and just like a little like pass back with a winger, Gusto. And I was just, again, confused because, Nick, you're talking about midweek prep. It's like, Broya, we're chasing the game. Get in the box. Get on their center back. Get on their last defender. Stay there. And, again, it looked really weird at the end. Even though we were at the similar formation with the subs, like it was still largely the same formation tactics that we started. But yeah, it not a lot pushed. They must have a ton of confidence in the return leg. Didn't like the travel day, something. It just was not there. But Mudryk also floppy today, unfortunately. Anytime someone got around him, he went down looking for calls and things like that. We've seen some really good stuff out of him, but like today wasn't it. Like
he's not a good sub. Can I just put that out there? I don't think he's good off the bench at all. I would expect a dude of that athletic ability to come off the bench and be shot out of a cannon. Like be so fast against a player that's been on the field for 60 minutes that they can't catch up to him. And he was jogging today. He was kind of flopping around. He was trying to dribble people instead of just going by them with his speed. Like, I don't understand what he was doing on the day. I don't understand what Raheem Sterling was doing on the day either. But I think Mudryk has to start from like a mental standpoint, because whatever the hell that was woeful. It was very bad. And I don't remember a great substitute appearance. Like he was fine against Newcastle in the previous round. Obviously got the goal. That was more of a fortunate gift than anything, but like that wasn't it, Chief.
I mean, he has only one goal coming as a sub. The rest are all as starts. So, in this season, again, it's not a lot of goals, right? That's four total goals across all competitions. So, I mean, that's the grain of salt in it there. But he is not necessarily shown that coming off the bench, to your point, Nick, like it's not the Christian Pulisic super sub, right? Like you didn't copy and paste them just because they're the the left-sided winger.
I think it's also difficult in that match to come in as a sub. I mean, what time did he come in again? Let me scroll up quick. He 63rd. Came on in the 63rd minute, like I just said. I mean, at that point, Boro had pretty much decided to sit in. And look, maybe they reacted. They're like, yep, you know what? We're up a goal. He just came on. Sit in. We don't need to give him space. He was still able to find some. But again, like him cutting in, taking the shots, Raheem with the shots, you get towards the end of the end line, and we weren't sure what we wanted to do. Did we want to drive end line? Do we want to pass it back to the top of the box? Do we just float in across? I mean, was our best header Noni Madueke from an Enzo Fernandez cross? It Weird.
This also was part of my big problem with the Potch piece of this. When the game got down to like the 75th minute, instead of it looking like the players knew exactly where they were supposed to be and there being a calm, resolve about this team that we were going to score, and we've seen that in Chelsea teams of the past, this was full-blown panic. It was players all over the place, throwing their body around the pitch, leaving huge gaps defensively, having to chase back. I mean, Thiago Silva had to run 50, 60 yards on that breakaway where it was like 2 against 1. And luckily the guy was terrible. Their striker was terrible and tripped over himself. But like it became so undisciplined, so panicked, so scrambled that nothing good is gonna come of that offensively. Like there was nothing threatening. I mean, Brandon, you put that at 86th minute or 84th minute was the last shot. So they just ran around like chickens with their head cut off for 10 minutes, doing absolutely nothing. But even before that, it wasn't great. We didn't create a ton of goodness in the second half, and I, that's a preview of what's to come in the second leg. Middlesbrough have no incentive now to move forward, to go forward in this game. Like they can just bunker in, hit on the counter. They don't have to play. They got their goal. So the club's gonna have to figure out a way to break them down in their final third with 10 players around, because that's what we're gonna face in the second leg.
Only silver lining, you know exactly what you're gonna face from them, right?
You should have known what you were gonna face today, though.
A little bit. I mean, they played a bit. I mean, 20-some% possession overall, not really, but regardless, there'll be no excuse for what they want to do come the return leg, which will be I've scrolled down too far on our results. Tuesday, the 23rd of January. So excited for that. Hey, we're going to take our last ad break. When we get back, though, a lot more that we're still breaking in, especially about the challenges on the pitch. Thank you to the sponsors, and we'll be right back. All right. So challenges, mainly the chances go wanting once more. Nick, Cole Palmer, false 9, got the space. Was he false 9 or was he just a striker running into spaces? I don't want to like
really just a striker, I think would be the fair way to say it. I mean, the runs
Yeah.
in his location on the pitch were that of where you would want your striker to be. And again, he's also 6'2". Like he's not as short as I think he looks on camera.
Is
No,
he really?
he dropped in as like a support striker a lot, though. Like like to get the ball and spray it out. Like he was both doing the work of a 10 and a striker at once, which is interesting considering the midfield we had on the pitch too. But yeah, I mean, this won't be the last time we see this season. And he had 3 golden fucking chances to have a hat trick and put this whole tie to bed. You don't see uh him miss very often. You don't see him miss 3 egregious open opportunities like that ever. And you can't imagine that if he scores those 3 chances, that Middlesbrough get back in this tie. I just don't think they have enough attacking output to do it. Although our shambles of a defense would probably give him a few for shits and giggles, but real bummer because he's been on a heater. He's obviously coming off the great performance at Luton. I I have no clue what happened, Dan. I really don't. Groundhog's Day or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's where I'm of the mind that there's definitely games that just don't seem to go a player's way. And this game, despite everything Cole was doing in terms of the shots he was taking, the places that he was getting himself into, the runs he was making, he's finding rhythm over a couple of games now where he is very good at reading potentially like where the missed hit pass is going to be due to some of the pressure, whether that's like our press kind of pushing forward, giving the passing lanes, making it a little more difficult, forcing a defender or the goalkeeper into making a bad decision because they see a bunch of blue shirts heading down their way. Cole has done a good job reading those and finding that an opportunity to create space for himself and to create a chance on goal, a chance on target. It just, none of them came good in this one. And so I think, to me, that at least I think is the positive outcome, is that like he's still getting into good positions, he's still taking high quality shots. He just had, I would say, is, I think, frankly, an off night, Brandon, but maybe that is hopeful then for the weekend that he will get an opportunity to bag one of those against Fulham and help try to send us to seventh position.
I'd also mention Connor. Connor had an open opportunity as well where he rolled defender and should have just slotted it in far corner. That's another one. Just you can't miss those. And the team is just so inconsistent with those clear cut opportunities.
Goals are important. Unfortunately, we somehow
Well
avoided
said.
the Cole Cold Palmer images. They're all there, right? I mean, he's on the short list for player of the season, even after tonight. It's just weird. None of it came off. But like, if he's not going to do it and Nico Jackson's not around, who is? We're back to that problem. Our goal scoring depth chart is a kiddie pool. Like we talked last week, set pieces, great. How'd that go tonight? Didn't. And squad composition comes back into it. We're short compared to Boro, right? They're big midfielders. You could probably put Enzo on Caicedo's shoulders and get to the height of some of those guys. So we got a squad building problem, right? Put Levi in. Granted, we don't have a lot of healthy players when it comes to defense, but not great from him either. So Dan, you found the XG philosophy. Thank gosh, put it in. Middlesbrough with a 1.01 XG to Chelsea's 2.33. Almost shocked it's not better than that.
Feels low. It does feel low.
So here we go. We got Noni Madueke, Raheem Sterling, Conor Gallagher, Cole Palmer, all culprits on the night, unfortunately. Madueke, stock rising, gone.
Gone. That's just it. Gone.
Yeah, stock's gone. It's been taken off of the exchange. No mas.
He was incredibly ineffective tonight. I mean, let's just be honest. And he's a guy that I like a lot. So,
it's the whole side though. Like, and that's what, I think it's the finger point challenge right now. It's people want to look for someone to blame. And so it's, well, if you don't like Pochettino, people are blaming the manager. If they don't like the players we've recruited, they're pointing at the, club ownership and the directors. If they don't like a particular player or players, they're pointing at the players on executing it. And it's all of them. Every single one. When you are doing this poorly, from where Chelsea were to where Chelsea are now, that is collective failure. It is not one individual. Now, one might be at a certain point more culpable than others in that moment. So you might say, hey, Pochettino didn't do a great job managing this match, and I would probably be more on that side for this one. But in general, every single one of those groups is involved for where Chelsea are today and the result of this match. And like, again, it could have been won, which is the crazy thing. And even through all the mess,
should have,
all of the problems, all the issues, Chelsea are still finding ways to be competitive, just not necessarily completing the project.
How do you complete that project? I think that's the problem. That's where we're at, Nick. That crossroads of, we got young players. Do we need older players? Is it the manager not getting enough from the players we have? Is it the strategy of this U23 squad that the sporting directors build? The only thing you can't blame the owners for is splashing cash, maybe a little too erratically at times, but I think that's where this project is just so entangled and problematic. Injuries as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a multi-year project, and we're about halfway through year one, year two if you count last year. But I've written that off in my mind, so I'm just calling this year one. Everyone has to be better. Poch has to be better. Scouting has to be better. Game plans have to be better. every single player has to be better. Every single one. Physios have to be better. Like there's no, I think we've said this multiple times on the show. There is no one person culpable, but that also means that everyone is. And so I think there have been times this year where Poch and the players have been arrogant, and I use that word not lightly. I use that word sincerely. That they could stroll out against whoever, and because we have X talent, that we're just naturally going to win. Um, I want to see some real leadership out of somebody on the field, like especially in these moments. I thought it was lacking today, and I think that Potts got the game plan wrong, and he has to point at himself and get better, because this is not the first time this season that we have gone out with the wrong game plan, with the wrong personnel, had to shuffle stuff around. It didn't work out, and now we're in an uphill climb in the second leg. So, yeah, it's tough to say, where exactly the wrongness started, but the wrongness ended with us being 1-0 down to a team that we had no business losing to. And we're going to have to really invent a few goals in this second leg to advance to a cup final.
Well, that is exactly where we're at. As we kind of zoom out here a little bit, it's all to play for in the second half of the tie, Dan. We're not out of it. We're down a goal to a championship side. Got 90 minutes back at the bridge to salvage something. 1 goal minimum. That'll get you the pens.
I think the other thing to keep in mind is that maybe that gives a couple players, because it's going to be in the 23rd of January. So we have some time with the extra winter break, pause in there for English men's football or senior football, that maybe someone like Nkunku could be back healthy. Maybe there's a midfielder that can be available to rotate or spell. Maybe I don't know. Maybe maybe Nico Jackson and company and country crash out of AFCON super early, and he wants to come back to be involved. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and then. Maybe Chelsea signed a player, and that player is involved in the match. I mean, so I think there's a bunch that could happen between now and then. I think that's probably where the hope has to hang on, and the fact that it's not an egregious mismatch right now, being down 2 or 3 goals, Nick. Like, there's still plenty of time in over 90 minutes to go win a match 2-0, to take this and advance to the finals.
I hate to burst your bubble, Dan, but looking at Senegal's schedule, they
It's
play on the
it's
on
super good for them.
they play on the 23rd of January, and their competition is Gambia, Cameroon, and Guinea. So
There's a reason they're the favorites to win.
yep, it turns out they're pretty good. So that likely the Nico Jackson to save us, which is hilarious after some of the commentary that we've seen, not likely to be a storyline. Look, I hope that we get some players back. I just don't. I wouldn't bet on it. I mean, I think this team is just perma injured, and it does screw with Poch's game plans. That he can't rely on Armando Broya for 2 matches in 3 days. It does screw with players' relationships with each other on the field, that they can't roll out the same starting 11 for a few matches in a row to get accustomed to each other. It really does. Like, I don't envy that problem that they're facing, but you have to be good enough as Chelsea Football Club to beat Middlesbrough, to score a bunch of goals against them in the second leg, and to really put your authority on a tie before moving on and potentially playing a final. Like, if we don't win that game, there's going to be some serious questions asked of Poch. And fair or not, he's going to get the Spursy treatment from fans that already started today. I can't imagine what it would look like at the bridge if we lose to a championship side and they advance to the League Cup final, when we're putting out our strongest possible side. Like, this is not us playing the kids, right? This is Thiago Silva's playing today, So I think it's a big match for everybody, and I hope that he gets it right because they're gonna just face a wall of red shirts.
Let's not get to that place. That would be a dark place, I think, for all involved. But you got to think about it. We're going in down a goal, right? We've got one arm tied behind the back. Surely not impossible, but you got to dig deep for that optimism. And like Dan said, a lot of time off, right? So next match, play Fulham on the 13th this weekend, and then you get 10 days off with that break. So about as perfectly timed as you could have asked.
The end of January is going to be very interesting because we sit here on the evening of the 9th of January, US time, across two different time zones. By the end of the month, Chelsea could have advanced to the finals of the Carabao Cup, have one hand potentially on a trophy, could have advanced to the fifth round of the FA Cup after beating Aston Villa, have potentially moved up into seventh position, getting closer and closer up the table, or the exact opposite of that can happen. And Chelsea at the end of the month could be no possibility of domestic silverware out of both competitions, not going to a final, not going to the fifth round of the FA Cup, and potentially struggling against a Fulham side and a Liverpool side. This to me is a very critical juncture for all those individuals we talked about involved who have something have play a part in the success of Chelsea. The sporting directors, the ownership, the players, and the manager. This is the hot seat moment for everybody between now and the end of January. Because if we don't get that, if we don't have the better of the two outcomes, February on is going to feel really, really unfortunate, I think.
Wow. Thanks for just turning that bus around.
But it is doable. The good outcome is doable.
No. You said
it really piece. It's a nice said, Joe. You have no fucking idea how this is gonna go.
No.
You have no idea. I mean, they could win out or they could lose out. I mean, it is that much of a weirdo team that we have this season. And I mean, I don't bet. I know a bunch of people that do. They're like, hey, is Chelsea going to win this game? No fucking clue. Don't ask me. I have no earthly idea which Chelsea team is going to show up on which day. Are we going to pump Preston 4-0 or are we going to lose to Middlesbrough 1-0? Who knows?
Might do both, honestly.
Probably.
Look, this reminds me, I had a good buddy in college, and his parents had like a long drive to come up to watch us play, and they were listening to a book on tape, and it was so confusing. They like couldn't get it figured out. On the way back, they realized they had it on shuffle. That's this Chelsea team. We're on shuffle. We're supposed to be going match to match. No. We're
no.
You're gonna choose shuffle. Your own adventure.
That's your updated through match review.
Tough run. All right. Well, no day in the match because we didn't win, which means other results there are none because it's just Liverpool and Fulham who play tomorrow, aka Wednesday, when you're listening to this. So hopefully we'll get an idea of who an opponent might be in the final. Again, we play Fulham, so it's all kind of weirdly tied together in an awkwardly short time period. But this is it. We
Middlesbrough are looking at this as to who they might play in the final right now. So
get ahead of themselves. Would love that, but I don't think so. Carrick is he has a lot of silverware in his cabinet at home, so he knows a thing or two about these competitions. And again, to be championship that close to the final, that's wild. Like that, yeah. Anyways, that's it. Look, Chelsea fans, we got a ton of content still coming at you. I got Matt Law the day you listen to this recording, so that'll be out on Thursday. Preview Friday. Dan, you just dropped Osimhen. I can't believe what Sam said. Crazy cliffhanger. Go listen.
Indeed.
And then what you said, shocking. Out of character.
Look, if you want to see the most generalized takes about what you could do with Victor Osimhen at Chelsea, come to us because we try to make sure.
Are you suggesting we play him at left back, Dan? Is that what's happening?
Look, I'm not Thomas Tuchel, but I do like playing a player out of position in a fullback variety.
Do you remember when Jose played Bertrand Traore as a left back? Man,
I
that's a
don't.
throwback for everybody. I do. I remember it, and I remember seeing him play forward, and then Jose just being the fucking shithouse that he is, decided that he was going to play Bertrand Traore, who is very clearly like a right winger at left back for reasons. Nah, tough beat.
Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate for everybody involved. Let's be honest. But hey, we're gonna wrap there. Like I said, much more content coming at you this week. There's just a little speed bump along the journey. Don't worry, we got you this week. Stay engaged, stay plugged in. We'll see you in Discord. But anyways, until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.